got 99 crumbs with my mac.
You can
Um,
hear me right, Alex?
yeah, yeah,
Alex?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we are
I'm telling
live
you,
though,
It's your yeah, it's I don't know.
but it goes
But well,
away anyway.
it's probably your computer.
We are live here with another Real News
oh,
Quarantine. We are going to dive right into a review of Penn State since I have graduated and am now a official Penn State alumni, I guess, even though I graduated via Vimeo, I think, slash YouTube. Uh, we were having a conversation just about like, well, is college worth it? What's it like going to Penn State? What's it like going to college? Has it changed you? What has happened from it? So I'm actually gonna let Alex kind of kick this off because I know you were starting to drill me with some questions. Where do you want to go with this?
I kind of want to, I think since this is when you actually graduate, like maybe a good idea is kind of like the start. Do you feel that you changed before, like from the moment that you walked on to the orientation to Penn State to 2 days ago when you signed off on your last Vimeo? If you, do you like, what's your sort of story with that? Do you feel it changed you? Because honestly, I have mixed feelings in regards to college. I feel that the the vast majority of the experience and learning that happened with me did not occur necessarily in the classroom. Like the classes were great, and I learned that some of them were. I learned some things, yes, but honestly, to me, the value proposition of spending 4 years and 40 grand on a college versus would I be able to go and do something similar via apprentice, via co-op, like, and actually having an internship outside of there, and like being in the real world, it kind of it's an interesting thing, but I do feel like it's more of a psychological, like almost like a boot camp, like where it changes you. It's not like the Vietnam War where you have like an IED go off in your face and like the Viet
Did you
Cong
just say
take.
IUD?
Well, I mean that can actually happen in college. Never know. You have some funny shit, but like it's not it's not the same sort of environment, but it's the same sort of like if I was a sociologist, probably that socialization where you're
oh,
you know
fuck me with the sociology. Oh my god.
no, like in the way that it changes you. You go into a group. The experience that you have at college changes you on a certain level. That the only real other places that might happen would be probably the only other really apparent one would be like the military, or if you were like sent to some other sort of like maybe like a cult, like that sort of level. But you know, how like do you feel that you had a major change personally, philosophically, from the moment that you set off to college to walking away from it now?
I am a changed man. I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. Nah, it's. I mean, and I know what you're getting at because, okay, look, I like to give blunt, straight answers, but for this, it's going to be somewhat nuanced in more ways than I normally like to be because college, it depends who you are and what you do for your experience. For me, the person I was when I was 18 years old, first stepped on this campus, and the person that I am now, 22 years old, and stepping off for 9 weeks and then finally graduating virtually, is a totally different person. I have more facial hair. I have a girlfriend. I have leadership experience under my belt. I have more hair on my chest. I have more um, experiences with things that I never did before, just in general. It's, I mean, that's just anything in life is all about experiences. But in college, it is what you make of it. If you just go to class, jerk off, and then go home, do your homework, and that's it, well, you're not going to really, you're not, especially if you're going to a big school with a big campus with lots of big people, big names, and big things happening, you're really wasting your time and not taking advantage of it. If you do like what I did and you spend your freshman year on campus in a MAGA hat building walls, helping out the Trump campaign, then the next year, a few years working your way up the ranks in a political club, becoming a leader, doing some cool shit, bringing some high caliber speakers like the president's son, and meeting people and getting involved in a radio show, doing a movie club, learning Premiere, Illustrator, Photoshop, starting a YouTube channel. That's where you gain new experiences and skills and actually get into cool shit. But all that's outside the classroom. Uh, when you I've said this before many times on this show. I'll say it again. I've learned so much more outside the classroom than inside the classroom. There are a handful of classes where I actually learned anything that I remember to this day and that I will probably still use. And that is my last advertising class, web design, news writing, and there's another one I thought I said. Can't even remember it now. It's not good, but you get my point. Oh, maybe my video. Oh no, I didn't really learn that much in my video class. Kind of already learned that before outside of classroom. Well, you get my point. So I did kind of change.
I mean, I guess it just, well, like I get what you're saying with the whole nuance thing, because like it really depends. Like it's like, is it, because you always try to, the people always try to ask, well, is college worth it or whatever, and it's like, well, it depends. It's like there's a whole bunch of questions you really have to answer before you could even ask that question. It's like, well, so what are you trying to do? What's your personal goal? Like, you know, so are you getting into a major that's going to be marketable? Because like, certain schools have certain majors that are stronger than other universities. Like,
Right.
you have, like the bit, for example, like the Smeal uh, College of Business is a stronger business school than a lot of the others in the country. But it's like, well, you have, so you, but even then, you got some majors that are better than others. Well, not better than like more marketable than others.
Not all
There's a
majors are
lot.
created equally.
Right. Um,
Like if you're
like I know.
picking, let's say, business, you're gonna get somewhere. If you pick engineering, you're gonna get a job. If you
Yeah,
pick medieval studies, whoa, shit, man.
like
If you aren't,
sociology
yeah,
or
if you pick
gender studies or,
anything ending in studies is a waste of time, in my opinion. It
because there's
just
like, I think a lot of, like, especially with like the good gigs and stuff like that, it's like you because they're competitive, like you have to have a good resume. Like you have to have a good school, good experience, just a good overall resume to have. And but I mean,
well, that's another thing too. When I talk about my experiences, all that builds on a resume. I just remember
yeah,
something else. I'm involved with a startup. It's about networking. The people you meet. It's a classic saying, but the more you know, or the people you know is more. It's not about what you know, it's about who you know and who you blow. But
yeah,
the thing is, it really, like, you can know everything, but if you don't have a foot in the door, if you don't know the right person to get you a foot in the door, well, you're at a disadvantage. And if all the things I've done help build a resume, and that's something I can't stress enough, is doing shit to help build a resume, because the hardest thing is so hard when you have to try and get an internship or a job, and the first thing they say is, what experience do you have? And I'm like, well, this is my first internship. I don't have any fucking experience. So how do I prove myself? And that's what you gotta figure out. And it's hard. Don't get me wrong, it's hard.
yeah. And I mean, it's like, okay, so then, like, because we obviously we talk about politics, every now and again.
Very rarely.
Okay, very rarely, right? No, like, but you see, like, okay, so if you're gonna major, if you're going to major like in political science, obviously you're going to need a total backbone of, education and experience and stuff like that. And so you're trying to get into you should have like organizations that kind of help hone that craft of whatever you're trying to do. And if you're majoring in political science, like it would behoove you to work in a fucking campaign or something, just to get some get some experience in that sort of field, so so you get a better idea, so it paints a better picture of what you're trying to do. Um, so you have, but as we found out, like in our time, that some of these political organizations on campus aren't that great, when it comes to like experience and getting your feet wet and getting your foot in the door, stuff like that. Like it's not very good because some of these people don't take it seriously. They don't take it. They see it more as like a social club than an actual um, way of developing you know, your job skill, your future job skills or whatever. And then so you're you're stuck. I don't know. It feels like, it almost feels like it's a waste of time.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you know, um, it's kind of uh, I don't know. It feels like a waste of time, but it's like, I mean, obviously for I'm glad was in those, like I was kind of associated with some of those groups because I met some good people, but it's like at the same time, and I mean, for me personally, I wasn't a poli sci major and I wasn't really looking to get into politics, so it wasn't my, I that wasn't my goal. Like my overall goal wasn't to work for a campaign or whatever. But obviously, if you are a poli sci major or you are looking to get into politics, you're gonna want to like go into an organization where you're working and maybe working for a campaign or maybe doing stuff for a campaign. And it's like to get that experience. And so it's like you're not like for the last couple of years, you're really not getting that experience that you're looking for. So then, so you're well behind the power curve. Whereas, like you, or we'll just call our friend AK,
Mm-hmm.
uh, that like some of you are gonna have are either have paying jobs for a particular campaign, or you're going to have like a paid job for a particular campaign. Like some of that work, like when you personally take these things seriously and work toward a goal, then it will be more beneficial to you toward getting a paid job versus you may, like, if you get your degree, then you're probably going to have to start from scratch right out of the gate, whereas like you are probably not going to have to do that.
Yeah.
And so you're kind of already you've already got a big head start.
I think poli
where
sci is a fantastic example. I'm glad you're bringing this up.
yeah
With
yeah
it's not what you know, it's who you know and how much work you put into it.
yeah
Because poli sci, I think we both agree, at face value is a bullshit major. I'm sorry.
it is
It's
it
got some
is
degree of bullshit.
it is
But that doesn't mean you shouldn't pick it. If you pick
yeah
it, that's fine. That's great. It's what you do with it. It's always what you do with it. My major, advertising, it can be a bullshit major too. It can be a bullshit major. I'll say it. Um, I'm trying to think of some other ones, like even psychology. And look,
Well, psychology is good. It's just
it
you, like,
can be
for
bullshit.
psychology, you can't just go like psychology itself is like a start, a start
Yes.
to something. It's not like the end result. Like
Yes.
because you're not going to get like you're not going to get a bachelor's degree in psychology and be able to maintain a reasonable living. It's just not going to happen. Like you're going to like it's one of those foundational majors for something, for a master's degree that, has a bit of a specialty to it, and um and that's one of those fields that's very competitive as well. And it's like, well, what are you trying, what kind of psychology are you trying to get into? Like the
Mm-hmm.
psychology, getting a bachelor's degree in psychology is great, um if you're looking to build a foundation toward a master's in whatever field you're trying to get into, clinical research, whatever, abnormal child psychology, whatever you're looking to get into. But I mean, it's one of those things that, and I think there's a little bit of that with poli sci too, as like a lot of these guys that have poli sci like a lot of these people that have these careers and are established have masters or JDs or whatever. Um, you're obviously going to need more if you're trying to get more, but at the same time, it's like, well, you're really at a disadvantage. Like a lot of these kids don't tend to have the kind of money or the time to be like spending 6 years at a school. And like by the time you spend like the totality, like say you get into Harvard, you say you try to get into Harvard and then try to get a master's degree, and you stay there until your master's, at the end of your master's degree, you're talking about like you're talking about maybe $500,000, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody has that.
What's the other thing is like
Like,
I feel like it's easy to waste time in college, and if you're not taking advantage of everything as much as you can, like you're wasting time. Like with poli sci, it is one of those things where would I recommend somebody go into it? Not necessarily, but if you are going to go into it, you need to work on campaigns. Like you said, our buddy 8K, he works on campaigns. He fucking has done the work that really beefs up your resume, that really proves that you're just not a poli sci major. You're somebody that's actually going to work. And I'm not trying to downplay like, the poli sci major thing, but it's just, look, the reality is a lot of employers are going to look at poli sci and like, they're going to be like, okay, great, but what have you done? And even with my major too, like they go, well, what have you done? Anybody can be an ad major. Anybody can be a journalist major too. I want to bring that up too. Is I learned that journalism is one of the stupidest, easiest majors ever. If you can barely write, you will pass it. You won't make buying it. This is part of the reason why quote unquote journalists today are so bad, is because in these journalist classes they don't. Yeah, you're supposed to learn AP style, but man, I was reading so many articles that were poorly written, that were filled with so many grammatical errors, had so many editorializations and editorial words, and it just was terrible. I'm like, it's not hard to be objective. That's the thing I learned, is it really isn't hard to be objective. But these people became lazy. A lot of them weren't too bright, and it's a major that anybody can kind of do. I mean, journalism is kind of is up there with bullshit majors, because you don't need a degree to do journalism. It's something that's just in you, and if you can work hard, you can be a journalist. But and maybe I'll say one thing I may have should have done better was get more into advertising sort of things. But I'll be honest, the ad club was so freaking boring. Oh my god. It was just the worst. I'm like, I don't want to be here. I want to be a turning point, starting shit with lefties and trolling people. Like, that's way more exciting than a fucking, hey guys, I'm the chief
well, I
executive of
mean,
this random ass
this is
advertising firm.
that's a good point. But and I feel like especially for Penn State, I'm not sure how it is on the other universities, but like I feel like they need to have a more of an advisory presence.
Oh God, I gotta dig into the
Like
advisors. Holy
yeah,
shit.
like because I mean it like you're asking these kids to run these things by themselves, and it's like, well, how are these kids supposed to know what direction to take this thing to, what kind of purpose they're going to or motivation or direction that you're going to be providing for these people? Like you can't ask that from people, and it's like, well, I don't know, and like I feel like there's like we'll say the college Republicans, right? They don't have an advisor, so it's like the when you don't have an advisor, the chances to be a dirty organization are there, because it's like you don't really have oversight, you don't really have purpose, direction, or motivation. Like they say it in their like, look, they have a constitution, but they don't really follow it at all. And like I mean, it's so you need that presence, and it's like you need that advisory presence to be able to have a grown man in the room going, okay, this is where you should go, this is where you should be. Yeah, and that's kind of that's just how I feel about the whole thing. And I think until they fix that, it's going to be a bit like you're kind of setting these kids up for failure in that regard.
Well,
Like
yeah,
when
with
you're
the
trying to
advisors at Penn State, they were absolutely terrible. Especially because I was first, I was undecided. I had no clue what the fuck I was doing, and most people don't. Like, anybody that goes into college and's like, I'm gonna be this thing. I know I definitely want to do this thing. I always thought, okay, do you? How much of it have you done? Have you had an internship? No. Have you had a job? No. Have you taken any classes in it? Well, I did do that one like introductory course in high school, and I'm like, okay, maybe, but let's pump the brakes there for a second, because there's a lot of shit that I could tell from the intro courses. Like, yeah, I don't want to do this shit. Like some of the business classes, like fucking accounting was the hardest class I ever took. Hate that class, so stupid. But if the advisors at Penn State are so awful, the DUS ones for the when you're undecided, they tell you nothing. They're just like, oh, just do your gen eds and yeah, figure it out. And I'm like, okay, how do I figure this shit out? Like, well, you need to just explore your interests. I'm like, well, how do I do that? Well, just take some classes, you know? And I'm like, well, which ones? You know, that's kind of the process. It's like, it doesn't feel like anybody's really helping me. And I'd be like, well, should I major in this? Should I do this? And they already don't tell you. The comm advisors, because I'm technically in college communications, were better. But man, these advisors were even telling like my girlfriend to take 3 psych classes at once, which is fucking insane. They just don't know what they're doing. And a lot of them don't even like. I think my girlfriend had one that was a gender studies major. There was a psychology advisor. Okay, they're not even, their own fucking department. So advisors are terrible. You gotta learn it all on your own. You gotta do it on your own. That's what I've learned. And like you said, you have no advisors, you have no oversight, you have no guidance, and it's hard. It's harder. So you gotta learn how to adapt to that. I hope Alex can get back and he can start
yeah.
probing his questions. But what other things can I say about Penn State? The food's not bad. I know Alex enjoyed the
No,
food.
I mean, yeah, I mean, look, I mean, when you're trying to attract big money fish, I mean, I would imagine that would be kind of a requirement. I mean, some of those cafeterias, they do serve kind of like a Golden Corral type fucking quality. But I mean, you do, I mean, look, if you can afford it, they got some pretty decent spots to eat. Um, uh, I don't know. I just
Well, yeah, the food is like I know my mom went. It was pretty bad back in the 70s or 80s whenever she went, but now it is. It's look. The first day you have it, you're like, oh my god, I get to have French fries and burgers and pizza every day. This is awesome. Then after a few weeks, it starts getting to you a little bit, and you're like, you already start cutting down. After about a month or so, you kind of realize, yeah, this food, it's still kind of corporate crap, but it's not bad corporate crap, and you get used to it. You kind of even like it in waves. You like it, and you'll find like certain shit that's regular, like the burgers at Flips at Penn State, or I was gonna say stupendous, but I hate that word. They were superb. Let's say they were pretty good for what they were. Yes, the pizza is garbage.
yeah,
AK for the most part,
yeah.
except at Pollock, it's not bad. It's not bad for what it is. The dairy is fantastic. Like the milk is, oh man, you guys know I love me some milk. Really good. The
Yeah,
ice cream's
you
really
do
good.
love you some fucking milk, man. I've never seen a 20-some-year-old person drink as much milk as you ever in my life.
It's how I get so strong.
Yeah, it totally looks like it. I just want to let you know right now.
Thank you. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody knows I'm like this big buff guy, even though my camera's off, they know. But you know,
But
okay.
yeah,
It's
but I mean,
good.
it's like, but I mean, you have pretty decent spots, like over there at the hub, and and
Well, yeah,
I
because the hub
I
had Chick-fil-A, had Starbucks, it has some pizza
yeah,
place, it has a bunch of shit. Like, and the hub I spent a lot of time into because it had a big ass TV with fake news on a lot of times. They had
yeah,
CNN on a lot, but the hub is where the shit goes down. That's always a fun place.
yeah, yeah,
And that's the thing too. Is cool is like exploring the campus. Like when you first get there, it feels fucking huge. You're like, this thing is like insane. And then the more time you spend there, it kind of gets smaller every day feeling. And I do recommend like if you do sort of like exploring and experiencing things, new things every day, like go to a big campus. Like it's fun.
yeah. I mean, I feel like in 2020 though, it's not really required. I mean, it's not required, depending on your like what you're trying to do. Um, I don't know. I feel like there's just a lot of bullshit because you have your smaller classes and whatever, and then you have your fucking like your sociology, you know,
Oh yeah, college taught me sociology is
sociology. Yeah, like
bullshit.
yeah, it's bullshit. I'm like well, no, I'll take that back. Look, sociology
It can be
is
good.
informative, like when you talking about like the basics and the history of sociology, like that. I think that's like a suitable. Those are suitable and helpful classes, like to learn, kind of see. Okay, there, because I definitely say I did learn something about American history as far as opinions and what and some of the historical stuff that happened in the past, and but I mean, I wouldn't consider that really a major. I'd consider that like,
A
you
minor.
know, a couple of classes. Like,
No.
no, I don't know. I don't know if I'd even consider it a minor. I'd be like, well,
Damn.
I no, I'd be like, well, but I mean, I wouldn't say it's completely useless, but you sure shit can live without it. I mean, it's not like I'm just like, but I mean, I could see where the attractiveness of learning something like that, but not, you know, it's not a fucking major. I'm sorry, it's
Yeah,
just
well,
not
that's
a
the other
major.
thing is like picking a major can be very hard when, especially when you're like me and you have multiple interests that maybe don't seem to overlap at first, and you don't really know what path to go down. But if you're picking a stupid major, like, I mean, like, again, you want to try and set yourself up for success in college. That's really the sort of end goal is to set yourself up for success. to get a freaking job that'll actually pay the bills and make your life happy as much as you can. But at the same time, I know Alex was saying like his high school work was harder than his college work. I disagree with that strongly. My college work was way harder than my high school work ever was. It was.
Well, he was probably well. Alex probably had um, he probably had a really good high school that like set him up for success. And
Yeah.
that depends on your high, and really that honestly that depends on your high school. And if you're trying to fix the issue of college and education and all that stuff, you can't have that conversation without going, well, what the fuck is wrong with our high schools? Like, because because some of these high schools are real, actually a lot of these high schools are really bad, and they set these, then when they do get to college or whatever, then it's like it's a it's a way more of a rocky transition than and that fucks you up, and that really handcuffs your ability to do other things, and meet other people and try to get your connects, and get your start with your connections or whatever. And I don't know, I definitely feel like they could do more with the high schools. I definitely feel like they shouldn't have college reform until they have some fucking high school reform.
Yeah.
Like, cuz that, like, look, we're not doing our kids justice. We're not doing our kids justice from a high school perspective. I mean, there are a few exceptions, do not get me wrong, but that's not the norm.
Yeah, and my high school was pretty average, I'd say. It wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible. But it did still have a lot of useless teachers. And even in college, like, there's so many professors that were just
Well, sorry
useless.
about that.
Oh, our boy's back.
There you go.
We had to go alone for, what was it, 30 minutes?
You left us all alone, Alex. What the hell,
How
man?
could you?
I got a job. I have to do my job.
Gotta pay them goddamn bills.
Oh yeah.
That
Yep.
blow smoking hooker ain't gonna pay for itself. No, no, I mean,
We were just talking
we were,
about a
yeah.
lot of shit, but what would you want to talk about next? You seem to kind of know where to go with this.
I don't know what you were talking about beforehand.
We were talking. I was talking about how the college, like with the colleges, it's like I see a whole bunch of legislation, proposed legislation for like college reform or college finance reform or whatever, and I'm like, those should be addressed, but I always feel like that they can't do that without high school reform. Like, I think we need to do something with the middle and high schools before we start tagging the colleges, because like, we're not setting these kids up for failure. We're not setting these kids up for success. And I know, Alex, you were saying that you might have went through to a good high school, right? Like, as far as what you were, being taught from your eventual major or whatever. But like, for every one high school like yours, there's probably 1,000 fail high schools
Oh
that are
well,
setting these people up for disaster. What do you think?
well, the thing was, I challenged myself in my high school. Like I had the option of going into regular class. There's like they had like three tiers. So there was like the basic, then there was a slightly advanced, and there was the like honors. And I
Mm,
tried to go and take as many of the honors and AP courses as I could. And I feel like that, in hindsight, I wish I would have done that because my GPA could have been a lot better in high school. But it made it so that like the shit I took in college was so much like it was easier than like AP, and
yeah,
AP was harder than the actual college courses, and I
yeah.
could have just honestly taken the like because there was community college or something. I probably could have just taken those when I was in high school, and I would have been a lot better for it.
Mm,
But
yeah.
no, I think my issue with college is just too expensive. Like
It
that
is.
that's my issue with that, and you know, I don't think you can really legislate the cost of that. They need to
Yeah.
take it down themselves.
Well, I mean, people need to realize that like what they're paying for. I think a part of it, and I think it's part of it is that more of these more of these parents need to understand that they're paying for a brand. It's not like you're paying for an education so much, because you could get I mean, you can get an education anywhere, depending on where you want, depending on what you want to learn in this world. The internet has ruined that for everybody. Like you like this isn't the olden days where in order for you to get a good education, you had to go to a college. Now the internet fucked it up for everybody. You could go look up anything you want and it's there. But I feel, especially with Penn State, like you're paying for a brand name, and
Well,
it's like buying a pair of Nikes, right? You could get a pair of Etonics that do the fucking job, but you're like it's like the Nikes or the brand name, they're the sexy shoes, and
Mm,
and dressed by all the
sexy.
famous. Yeah. Oh my God, yes, it's so sexy. No, but
Penn
no,
State
it's
shouldn't be that way, though. Honestly,
what's up?
Penn State shouldn't be that way, though, because it's still like
Shouldn't.
it's a state-run institution. Like
Well,
you have
yeah,
a league school like that. There it's a free market. They can do whatever the hell they want. But Penn State accepts public funds. There should be some level of basic cost savings that they do. Because honestly, like, where's that money go?
Goes in the President Barron's bonus.
Well, yeah, but
I mean it's very top heavy. Like I know Penn State is very top heavy, as far as like deans and you
Well,
know
there's so many levels of
like
bureaucracy
admin
in Penn
level.
State.
Yeah,
It's insane, and I've dealt with it. Like, for example, when I had a question for the student bank accounts at Penn State, I must have had to talk to literally 4 different people in the same room to get an answer. So I'd be like,
yeah.
I'd ask this one lady, like, "Oh, do you know what this and this means and how to do this and this?" I'm not sure. Let me ask Jenny. Jenny, do you know how to? Um, I really don't know. Let me ask Melinda. Oh, she's not in the office. Shit. I'll
well,
ask our boss of bosses. Yeah, let's do that. Fuck, like who? Nobody knows anything.
that shows that there's a level of incompetence there. But
Absolutely. Penn
you know,
State has so many levels of incompetency. Yep.
did you kind of go over your actual college experience?
I kind of did a bit. I gave like a little bit when you asked like if it changed me. For those that don't know, when I was a freshman, like I said, I got into the Trump campaign politics, went head deep into that, and had some fun, made some connections, got some experience, met one of my best friends right here, Mr. Alex, and fuck, what else did I do that year? I just kind of got my feet wet and experienced and saw things that you wouldn't believe, as I said a few minutes ago. But it's just college shit. And some crazy stories, and learn about how sociopaths operate. um, but beyond that, in sophomore year, I kind of started doing more things, getting involved with Turning Point, working my way up in the club, getting on the exec board, doing some leadership shit. Junior year, or was that junior? My sophomore year is kind of a blur right now, but it was kind of more like finding my place. And junior year, I kind of found my place and was working in that, doing some leadership stuff, getting some big like events done and in the books. And then senior year was like the pinnacle of it all. Full on leadership position, president of Turning Point, and doing shit the way I want to, and really pushing myself and the club and everything to its limits. And that was really my experience. I mean, I did the radio show. Maybe that's what started sophomore year, was a radio show, which
Not that freshman year, I'm pretty sure.
I think I was doing the training freshman year. I'm not certain.
Well, yeah, that was my first semester, and I think because I remember I was on there, I before I graduated, and I graduated your freshman year. like at the end of it.
Yeah, I don't remember. But it's like again, I will. Another thing to add to is people. I think for me, I never met anyone in classes. I met all my friends outside. I didn't talk to anybody in classes except when I had to. And I've known some people that do meet their friends in classes, but I wouldn't recommend it. Like actively trying to find friends in class. Go to where your interests are, and you're gonna find people that are similar to you. That's where met another one of my best friends, Phil, right here. He was very similar to me on a lot of things, with a lot of interests and a lot of political viewpoints. And now we're here, and I met, we'll call him AK still. Literally right before the shutdown happened, I met him through the clubs too, and we become close friends. So that's where you really meet people and you get connections and you kind of get into shit. I loved it. Love the clubs. That's the one thing I'm gonna miss so much. So much is the
And that,
clubs, the radio, shit like that.
yeah, and that's kind of like my experience. So I feel that if you're not going to be involved in clubs, you may as well just go to like the cheapest college that you can, because honestly, that's where the most like that's the only sort of redeeming factor with Penn State is all the other experiences that you can get from there. Like if you just want to go and like survive, you're probably better off going to, like a community college and then maybe to some cut rate university, because like most companies don't really like, as long as you have a good GPA and a decent, like a college that's somewhat like an accredited college, you're probably not gonna give two shits about what college you go to. So
Yeah.
some like BS unaccredited institution. But I feel that, like that's like the one thing that I do like. And honestly, like when I first went to college, I always, because I went to branch campus, and I was like, oh, this this college over here, like the college experience is kind of a lie. But maybe I think I was a little bit wrong about that, because and I didn't even really have a full college experience. I never, I went 2 years to a branch campus, and I went for you know, I never lived on the actual campus itself, which I still feel like I had, that was still enough just going to main campus, but would have helped a little bit. Like there is a college experience, and that is what you
Yes.
pay, and you know, be ready to pay for that. 'Cause sometimes it's useful, but like honestly, I don't know, like because some of these other schools, because I've went, like I never like studied there, but I've been to other like the cheaper state schools before. Like I had, I took a few girls out on dates on a few of these, and they look like
Mm.
thriving student population at those places too. So I mean, I don't know how it compares to Penn State, but
And that whole
but
college experience, like we kind of said earlier, I don't know if you heard this part, but it's really what you make of it. If you go out and join clubs, yeah, you're gonna have your experience. But if you just sort of sit around, go to class, come back, jerk off, don't do anything else, and just kind of live in this little bubble that's not really getting involved, like you're not gonna have that. And you don't have to get involved with everything. I mean, I got involved with a lot of things initially, like Trump Club, um, CRs, film club, radio. I just sort of slowly sort of narrowed down and focused on my time on things I really cared about, and then turning point eventually. But that was part of the process. Like it's just not going to happen instantly. But shit, I was gonna mention this. Yeah, oh yeah, about the living situation. I liked on campus because it's nice and easy and convenient. I didn't do any partying, so that I didn't care about, ooh, I gotta hide my alcohol or something like that. Wasn't doing that, so I didn't. That wasn't like a benefit being off campus was that you could have alcohol or something. But I love living on campus. I have my own single dorm. I didn't have to wake up super early. I could just get up, get ready, and walk or bike to my class. I do recommend biking. Saves a shit ton of time. My travel time was cut down by 2/3 easily because of biking. And I hate cyclists. They should all be deported, but keep them for colleges.
yeah, I don't know about that, but I don't know. Like I feel like there's a certain benefit to it, but like everyone's a little bit different. Like if you're gonna go for a net, like it's like anything else. Is do you have the money for it? I mean, you were lucky enough where you have to actually pay for it. A lot of people, like I'm still paying back my student loans. Would that have been worthwhile for me to go and pay for that?
Yeah,
Maybe.
It really
maybe not
depends.
like, I would say definitely go to a campus that has student life. Like that's probably worth it. But living on the dorm itself, that's a tough question.
Yeah, I understand. It's not simple, but that was just my experience. And fuck, what else was I even thinking about? Did you have any more questions, or do you want to ask the ones that you asked before?
I kind of forget. I had that call, so I mean it's a
Mm,
little bit difficult this time. But
we're in deep
I'm
with that call.
I definitely, like, do you feel, you know, that I mean, I already talked about is the juice worth the squeeze, I guess. Like, do you really like? Do you think that you would have learned this, like, had that same experience if there, like, do you think another system could take the place of colleges in the future?
Oh,
Like,
well,
in
I
terms of
think.
the not the in class stuff, but like in terms of the getting to know people. You think another institution could take that place? Because honestly, the only real reason that people even go to college, based on what I like, outside of the very rare, like the few majors that actually need it, would be to gain, experience, like to get a piece of paper and to, network. Do you
Hmm.
think there'd be something else that you could get that same networking from currently? And if not, do you think there could be something in the future you get a similar experience with?
That's a good question.
So
Like we've kind of said, I think the academics can be replaced by Khan Academy online learning shit for the most part. For labs, for other hands-on things, not necessarily, and for people that prefer that interaction with the professor in person. There's always going to be that in-person element, but for the networking, I really don't. I just don't. Maybe I'm not too imaginative right now, but I just don't see a way of doing that without college. And because the college is sort of a hub, a place where all these people will come. It's where job recruiters will come. I mean, they could do that digitally too, but like, there's nothing like a job fair where you have to shake hands, talk to employers, give them their resume, and do face-to-face interactions, and they like that. And maybe, I mean, I've done some Zoom interviews and some Skype interviews, but getting rid of that I don't know of a real way to replace that, because by replacing, you have to sort of live up to the standards of what you're replacing. I don't know how really to do that. And for the other shit, like, I've met a lot of journalist students that were reporters for the Collegian and other local papers that might be big name reporters down the road. I've had interviews with Politico, The Atlantic, and some big names like that. I don't see how I would have gotten those interviews. I mean, I did get those interviews virtually, but it was because of the clubs and shit we did in real life, like the speaking events, the activism, and you can't replace that because that is what gets you your networking and shit. A movie club, like how you gonna do that virtually? Like, because the clubs is really where you start networking and people you meet. Like, how do you meet people in a Zoom class?
Yeah, no, I mean I get that, but would a certain other organization be able to go and like take the reins with that?
I
You
just
know,
don't know how. I really don't know how. I mean,
you know,
maybe, but if you're keeping the in-person element, yeah, something else could do that as long as it's legitimate in the eyes of big name people. But I just don't see how you replace that virtually. I don't know. It's a weird thing to think about because Penn State. I think after this coronavirus, more people like online learning is going to be way more legitimized. I think some like school days are going to be, or school days, snow
dorm.
days, or dorm days. Yes, snow days will be completely just gone. You'll be able to do your shit online, but uh, see, like I could see colleges being way more online. I mean, I will say if you can take an online class, do it because it's way easier for the most part, and it saves you a lot of time. But I could see it just less class and more just sort of more of it being like a playground. I don't know if there's a way to replace college with some sort of new playground, but that's really what college is a playground. It is what you make of it.
less class, more ass.
Yes. But that's the best answer I can give. I know it sounds maybe a little rambling nuanced, but I don't know. I really don't know.
No, no, and that's okay not to know. No one has all the answers to that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel that like they could like theoretically, I think they absolutely could have another hub for that, but I don't know what form that would be. I think that as much as I like to shit on the Masons, like that's kind of what they sort of, in some aspects, kind of do.
Well,
Like
think
it
about
gives, like,
fraternities too. How do you replace that?
well, I think that like the fraternity is kind of like it works in a similar manner to how these people work. It's like kind of like what you have. I imagine like the fraternities like that to more like a net, like at least originally. Like I mean, now I think it's more or less just like a nightclub for freshmen, but or
Mm.
not, but college students who you know I don't really just like a place to hit chicks. But
our resident frat guys chiming in.
there's still a sort of networking aspect to it, and some of them do it more than others, and I feel like that's definitely something useful to have. And I
Right.
just don't know what will go and take the reins of that. Like, I mean, you got a lot. Like, I got a lot of experience during the Trump campaign as well. But like in terms of actually networking, like that was probably my biggest thing. Honestly, was the Trump campaign because I was with the CRs beforehand. I barely like I hated it there. Like my whole junior year, it felt like shit. But then my senior year was like by far like hands down. If I could relive one year of my life, it would have been my senior year for all the ups and downs. It was that was some of the best times of my life.
I will, because that was my freshman year, and I will say, I think my best, so my senior year would have been my maybe best or second best if it wasn't for the coronavirus. That really fucked it up because half of my last semester just got ruined, and there was so much important shit that was gonna happen. The big speaking event, the actual graduation, like whole bunch of shit was really gonna happen. But God, I don't know how it would have, how much different my college experience would have been without that. But my freshman year, though, which was involved with the Trump campaign, I mean, we got interviewed by NBC, Nightly News. We met Eric Trump. I mean, it was my freshman year was one of my most jam packed. Uh, I won't say life changing, sound too dramatic, but it really it was something else. That was probably my best year. It was definitely my most like holy shit year.
Yeah, because I mean that was your first year away from your parents, really. Like that's one of the benefits of college too, is it gets you away from your parents in terms of like doing stuff on your own. Like, because if I just went straight from like high school to living on my own, like it would have been a like paying bills and all that shit. That would have been a big culture shock. I mean, I kind of feel like I did enjoy having the New Branch campus because that was a bridge because I was able to like deal with the academics while also maintaining basically status quo at home. So that kind of gave me a chance to get used to that like a college class because I mean I thought it was easier than high school classes, but it was a different experience. At least like AP classes and stuff. But and then when I went to main campus, it was just dealing with the life. But I mean, you were sort of there from the beginning. But I kind of feel like a dorm is like a halfway point between home and living on your own too. Because while you do have, you are living on your own. You have to go and get, like you have to get your own food every day. You don't actually have to make the food. You're just really responsible for using. Like you have to go and wash and dry your clothes. Some people got to do that at their parents' house. Some people didn't. But like that definitely, I feel like that's going to make your life a little bit easier now that you're used to living on your own for that long.
Yeah, and that is nice. And I'll say roommates can be they can be hit or miss. I was lucky with both of mine. They were interesting. I'll put it mildly for now. But the shit, I had a thought, and I'm already losing it. Oh, losing so many thoughts. But when you talk about the oh yeah, the bridge between, getting you the transition to college life. I mean, I remember for some reason when I was touring Penn State, like I don't know, because I actually you spend the night there alone in a dorm or with a roommate technically.
Oh, that was right around Sandusky, wasn't it? Like,
Oh, really?
well, no, actually, no. I forget. Like, that was when I went to college, so that would have been
Oh yeah, that was
longer.
way before me. I thought it was when you were doing it, but um,
Forgetting how young you are.
I know I'm such a young little bum. But for some reason I felt weird then. Like I felt really weird. And then when I actually moved in, I felt a little weird then. And it took a few weeks to adjust. And I really didn't fully adjust till fall semester. Oh, because that's the thing. I had a summer semester, which I highly, highly recommend because not many people are on campus and you kind of get to explore it on your own and get used to it before everybody comes to campus. And that was great. I'm glad I did that. But I didn't feel fully adjusted till fall because that's when everybody was really here and that's when I really got involved with clubs and I really met my real friends. Because the first person I was hanging out with was the Bond villain for a bit. Um, I'm like, oh, this guy's gonna be my friend, right? Yeah, no. So, and you will. I don't know, like, for some reason, at least for me, my friend group's changed every year, but my core friends never change, but the people I hung out with on campus changed, except for really, actually, it changed every year, except really the only year I had an overlap was sophomore and junior, and then junior to senior, and junior to senior is because my girlfriend was still there, but yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting too, and like it's really sort of the first time that a lot of these people kind of get to, you don't have your parents sort of hovering over you. Like, school has rules and stuff. Like, I imagine that this, like, if you ever went to a boarding school, I don't know anyone who, well, I think I might know somebody, he's not here, who went to one of those. Like, I imagine you probably have a similar experience over there, just like, being on your own. Like, having the ability, like, the freedom to really live life to, within certain, with a certain respect to how you want to do it. Like, you kind of have to learn budgeting, I imagine. Now, if you live on campus, they have line caps, which basically prevents you from, buying like certain things very easily. But it kind of keeps you on track. It's sort of like a test drive for being an adult, and I feel that, like, especially as like a freshman, you're still not really an adult at that point. Like, you don't really
No,
become.
you're not an adult.
I don't think you really become an adult till like I like.
21.
No, I mean, I don't know. I felt like when like actually lived out like on my off-campus house, like I had to go and pay for bills to a certain extent. Like, it definitely helps, but like once you graduate college and you have a real job and you have like a real budget, like it
Yeah.
sort of do that. But I feel that like it's a transition, and like college kind of serves that purpose, and there's not really much else these days that do. That serves that sort of transitional moment from being primarily the responsibility of your parents to being the responsibility of your own self. And you get to really explore yourself over in college. Like, you can basically be whoever you want to be, whoever you were in high school. It doesn't matter. No one will fucking know you.
And I
You know.
think that, like, I guess this is maybe a millennial fucking Zoomer thing, but like in middle school, like, everything's awkward as shit. Then high school, it's not so awkward, but college is like so much more relaxed. Everybody's sort of, it's its own little bubble world. And every time you come out of it and go back to your family life, it feels like you're in two different lives, two different worlds. It's really weird, and that can be jarring. I mean, that was jarring for me for I think maybe the entire time except maybe my last year. But like you said, you get that's the one thing I'm reminiscing on right now is that college is a time where you really do get to explore yourself. Really get a feel for who you are, see what other people are like, and learn. And really, you do transform yourself. You do find new interests, new things you like, and you build your own identity. I think that's the important thing. You really do form your own identity and become your own self. Because before you really your parents' sort of byproduct, your whatever they've influenced on you, and some of your friends in high school that you only see for a few hours. But college, you get to do whatever the fuck you want. You can go to class. Afterwards, you can go eat something, go run around. You can uh, go rock climbing. What?
You stay up as late as you want.
Yeah, you can watch porn for however late you want. You can go on help a campaign. You can go, to a dance club. You can join fun. You can go to a frat. You can go drinking. Go to a restaurant. You can fuck
You know,
whatever you want whenever you want.
like yeah, that's it's a definitely like sort of a experience with that too. Because I feel like when you go to college too, like freshmen are pretty much like high school seniors still. They're not really college people until probably their mid
Sophomore
sophomore
year.
is when they really change into a peak college person. By the time you're in your senior year, you're still college, but like you start to evolve at that point usually. Like you're like they don't like me. You'll go out like drinking, but it's not like it kind of loses that cool once you turn 21. Like it's not that sort of oh cool like frat parties all the time. Like most people, I don't know. Things have changed with the frat situation over there. One of our other listeners would know more about that, but it's different. Like you just sort of mature by the time you're halfway through senior year, and I mean, it goes too fast too because like my sophomore year, that whole year dragged. Like I just had a shitty experience. I didn't have a good friend group because this thing I was really involved with was CRs, and they're a fucking joke. But I actually met a good friend group my senior year, and but it was just so fleeting. Because like half of senior year too for me was trying to get a job and working on that. Like I mean, academics was important, but it was mostly just finishing up the last few requirements I had to graduate at that point.
Well,
Like
that's the other thing too. Is I was lucky to find you my freshman year, but I was also unlucky because I only got to spend 1 year with you. But at the same time, what was that?
I've seen you much since then.
Well, yes, but I mean like spend full time at college. You
Yeah.
know, it just it's not the same, and we were just sort of getting to know each other then. But when I mean, one of my biggest regrets, honestly, was not getting more internships sooner. I still haven't got one, but that's something that would help. But I mean, I did a summer course when I switched my minor to IST, which I do recommend IST highly, especially now. And I don't. I mean, in hindsight, kind of rushed that, but oh well. In other words, I mean, college was kind of started feeling a waste of time really quickly in terms of academics. So I was pushing through it quickly, but it it's it's something you should enjoy while it lasts because it does go quickly, very very quickly.
Yeah, that's sort of like another thing too. Like, you didn't know what major you were until what your like sophomore year, like the end of that.
So the deadline really, yeah, the deadline was end of my sophomore year, and I picked it kind of mid sophomore year. I think my second semester.
Yes, I mean, how was that choose like actually determining, what you were going to do with that? How was that experience? 'Cause I never really had to go through that. I was lucky enough to kind of know what I wanted to go and do, like generally. But I know a lot of people. Now, I know Phil, you might have some experience with that. I don't really know though. Like actually determining while you were in college what major you wanted to go and do, and then trying to get filter it down.
Yeah, it's difficult because I think what helped me maybe well, I went into college with a few paths of where I thought I would go. I was interested in film, writing, and journalism to some degree, and maybe a tiny bit of computers and a tiny bit of business. Uh, very, very tiny. But I took a film class freshman year, realized it's a lot of work and it killed the fun. And film class taught me really nothing. I'd already learned everything outside class, and it was just too much work that was kind of becoming a buzzkill for something that I enjoyed. And I'm glad I did it because it did teach me that. But I didn't see myself having a career in it. And for writing, I dabbled with journalism, but realized I'm not gonna if I want to do journalism the way I want to, which is objective or, you know, investigative, there's just no market for that right now. You're not going to make money in it. Even my one professor said, like, yeah, you're not going to make shit at first being a journalist, and it's going to be a lot of work. And I just, I would probably be really good at it, but I don't see the desire for the way I'd want to do it. And what were the other ones I named? Let's see, film, journalism. What was my other interest I said? Can't remember.
Computer. I think you said computers.
Yeah, that. And then after I hit those things, I started looking more in the business end of things. And I took some business classes, and econ was hard. Fine, I was trying to do some sort of businessy minor thing. There was like a certificate in that. Didn't really pan out once I hit accounting because that was too hard and just ridiculous. And my interest in computers and your influence pushed me to IST. One of the best decisions I've made. And for my major though, advertising, I'd always had an interest in graphic design, and I started developing an interest in communication persuasion because of my love for Daddy Trump, and also through Scott Adams sort of explaining how Trump does this shit and explain his techniques in persuasion. I realized that all my skills in graphic design, writing, film, graphic design, all these things sort of overlapped in advertising. I realized that was the path I wanted to go down. The intro class of advertising interests me enough. I couldn't think of when I realized I was going to go into advertising, but I thought going into marketing and business school, but I got screwed out of that because I had too many credits, which was stupid. But advertising eventually became my pick, sort of.
Yeah, yeah, that's a fun little story you had over there with that too, where they kind of pulled that out. They pulled the rug out from under you before you even really choose that major. Looking back, do you think you would have went with that major, or you think you're happy with your decision that you made?
Oh god! In hindsight, I wish I'd done marketing through the business school because it would look better on the resume. But the business school is kind of bullshit because if you don't know you're going to go into that like right out the gate or after 1 or 2 semesters, you're not getting in. You simply aren't getting in, which is stupid. But for advertising, I'm fine with it. I'm perfectly fine with it. It's it's not ideal. It is a BA, yes, but it's the best I could do in my situation, and I do like it. I really do. It's just really annoying how Penn State kind of rigs it against you, intentionally or unintentionally, that you can't get into the business school. But I'm trying to even remember how I really got into advertising. I remember that one intro class I took that I liked, and I kind of just realized it encompassed all my skills, and that's something that Scott Adams teaches. I always recommend is build a skill stack, learn new skills. It'll benefit you more than anything else, and it'll help you figure shit out.
That's some good rules to some good general things to deal with.
Yeah,
I can imagine that you had a very interesting experience, and everyone's college experience is different too. Like I had a different one than you, and I'm sure Phil probably a different one than me.
yeah.
You know, is Phil still there?
Oh yeah, yeah. Mine was definitely different. But then, I mean, in all honesty, like my purpose, like my initial purpose toward being there, my motivation was a bit different from
Mm,
y'all's. I mean, it wasn't so much like going there and getting the degree so I could get the job, whatever, whatever. I think a lot of it, a lot of me, the drive that sent me to Penn State was nostalgia a little bit. I think a lot nostalgia had a lot to do with it. Because I mean, I like you guys know my backstory. Like I grew up poor, single mom. You know, she was a drug user, had her issues. You know, and like I always wanted to go to Penn State. Like I grew up in Lancaster. I always wanted to go to Penn State. And like, but of course, we didn't have that kind of money to just go up there, and you know, we didn't have like the ability to like borrow money, and because there's a lot that goes into it that we just simply didn't have. And so yeah, I went into the military, and then through that, I found my way to get there. That was essentially my way of getting there. And then and then I show up, and it's like, well, I want to learn, and I do want the major, but I want to embrace the experience. And part of me wanted to kind of, help others, help
Mm,
others kind of develop in their own sense, and yeah, and because I mean, I'm a bit older. It's like, well, I mean, I could take, leadership positions, or I could do, some of the selfish stuff that I would have wanted to do, but like, I'd much rather help somebody. If I could help somebody else, I mean, it's much better. Like, it's a much better cause, because, like, look, you know, you guys are younger, you have more time to be able to, make the kind of impact that you want to, versus me. I'm like, shoot,
Well, you think
I'd
that that was a big thing too? Like, I can only imagine, like, that you were, I know when you're like a non-traditional student in that regard. Do you think that had some sort of major, your experience? Do you think it significantly changed that from how it would have been if you were like 20 going into college?
Yeah, I don't think I would have taken. I don't think I would have appreciated it as much, because
mm,
I know 20-year-old me would not have taken this thing seriously. Like, I would have not taken University Park as serious.
would
I
you have
would have
been
taken.
spending your time like
I would have been
partying and
spending.
banging
I would have
chicks?
been partying, getting fucked up, chasing every piece of tail I possibly could. Experimenting on everything that I possibly could. Like, that was, I
Oh,
mean,
like chemistry experiments?
something along those lines. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm grateful, because, like, I do, I do. Um, I mean, I don't think that, like, I do understand, like knowing what I know now. It's like, well, it gives me a little bit of a perspective from, like, a lot of these guys and gals are doing a lot of the stuff that I probably would have done, and I did do, but in a military setting versus in
Hmm.
a, in a college setting. But, like, yeah, I mean, it begs the question. It's like, look, are are we sure that these young kids can handle college? I mean, and it's like, well, what kids can handle college? And then it's like, okay, and even if you, like, I don't know, it's all about, and I always say parenting is all about setting your children up for success. Like, that's like the number one thing. Like, you're setting your child up for success. Whatever it is. Like, you're trying to get that, you're trying to help your child achieve that actualization, with the Maslow's hierarchy of needs or whatever. And,
Yeah.
like, so you're like, so it's like, how do I get there? How do I get my child to realize his potential, and, like, get him to figure out what he wants to do, and figure out, like, how to get there. Like, and I think that's missing with a lot. I mean, that's really missing with you know, a lot of these kids. And I think, I don't know, it's a very, I don't know if putting somebody in that college situation really, like, you're sending your kid up to University Park, right? And you're like, and you're like, here, have at it, Haas, and then you're just leaving them up there with free time, with temptation of all kinds, with you know, and like, and it's like, well, how do you expect these kids to act? And it's like you're talking about sending these kids up at like 18, 19 years old, and it's like, well, how do you really, how do you deal with that? And it's like, I think like trying to handle like the issues with college and developing our youth. It's like, how do you do it? But it's like a multi-layered issue, and it's like, and it's worth having. It's a conversation that's worth having, but it's also like, I don't think, I hate when people talk about these subjects and talk about it like, well, one thing's going to fix everything. Like, oh, we need college reform or something like
Free
that. And it's like,
college.
I just, like, we need to have free college, and we're going to get the rich to pay for it. Like, I'm like, well, I don't think that's really so much the answer, just because, like, the the problem, it's like, is it really going to fix the problem? Well, no, because the problem is multi-layered, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it just seems like it I don't know, it's more of a, that's where it seems like more of a sales pitch, because the right answer is definitely complex and multi-layered versus you know the quick fix or whatever. Oh, we're gonna break the fucking teachers union. Well, I mean, you're not really good. One, it's a union. I don't know if you're really going to do that, and then you're going to make a whole lot of enemies. And I'm not sure. I mean, don't get me wrong. I feel like the teachers' union is probably one of the most corrupt unions in the country. But like,
But they like their union.
but it's like,
They don't want to give
yeah,
that up.
it's hard. It's hard going against a union that's that big and like that rooted in corruption and shit. Like, that, like, they used to, I I like watching documentaries. There's a couple that I would mention to watch. One of them was Waiting for Superman, which is
Yeah, I've
it's
heard that
a,
one.
you heard that one? That's
Mm-hmm.
about the DC. That was like the DC charter school, issue.
Mm-hmm.
Like, kids were better, like mothers were better off sending their children to charter schools versus the actual public school.
Mm-hmm.
And because like the literacy rate at that time, like when they made it, was like 13% or something in the DC area for public schools. And and the education system, like the public education system there, was so poor. And they would try to, and they hired the DC, they hired somebody to try to fix it. And but the teachers union would be getting in the way of everything that they were trying to do. And it's like, well, and you can't improve the education system without holding some of these teachers accountable for not doing the kind of job that they really are supposed to be doing. And if you have the union getting in the way of that, then it's really like, it's kind of dead in the water, and but that's part of the problem, that like that documentary Waiting for Superman really took on. And it's a really good one. It's a really good documentary. I highly recommend uh watching it if you can ever get your hands on it. I know certain documentaries are a bit difficult to um get a hold of. And then the other documentary I wanted to like throw out there is Ivory Tower. Has any of you heard of Ivory Tower, the
No.
documentary? Okay. So
What?
I huh?
Want to see my ivory tower?
You want to see my ivory tower, bitch? No, the the
And
ivory tower.
demonetize.
I mean, we weren't monetized anyway. I mean, whatever.
Yeah,
That's
I'm gonna still, like act like we are, just so I can use that joke.
Susan would just get to kiss my ass. Yeah, I said it. God damn it, I said it.
now we're never getting monetized.
Probably not. Probably not. Patreon's probably the only chance we're ever gonna get to see any kind of coin shit. Anyway,
what's that Snapchat account? That fucking premium Snapchat shit. Now OnlyFans. Yeah.
the true like none of us are stripping for anything. So anyway,
Hey, talk for
you're not
yourself.
gonna be able. Yeah, you're not gonna be able to make money on premium Snapchats without fucking
Want free college, bitch?
selling your ass. No, but yeah, anyway, digression. Ivory Tower, got it. So Ivory Tower focuses on the history of these colleges and how they've become as expensive, ridiculously expensive as they've gotten, and um, definitely a good one when you look at like, especially with us being in Penn State and Penn State becoming as expensive as it has. Like, a 4-year degree is going to run you about 120,000 plus, and you pay for it however you can. But like, yeah, I mean, it's like you're spending that much money and you're not really getting a whole lot unless you're, you know,
It actually kind of brings up a good point, though. In terms of paying for college. Now I know,
right.
like you earned it from service in the military, so this wouldn't really be applicable to you. But Sean, you know,
Uh-oh.
well, that's not really a problem. I'm just kind of curious on how you think that might have affected your college experience. Like, not really like since you didn't pay for it. Do you feel that you know there was a certain like where you didn't like you didn't have to go and have an on-campus job. Do you feel like not paying for college was a benefit, disadvantage? Do you think it changed your overall college experience and how you look back at it?
Well, I can only speak for myself here, and I appreciate what my grandparents and parents pay for, so I did make what the most of it. Now I know my grandmother, if she knew about my political activities, would be extremely disappointed, or at least that's what my mom tells me. But you know, at the same time, uh, I mean, look, having money and being able to pay for shit without worrying about it is freedom. Is the purest form of freedom. Is financial freedom, and yeah, it's a fucking advantage. I'm grateful for it, but I have a feeling. See, like again, speaking for myself. I do appreciate, and look, I still work my ass off to get really good grades. I don't even think I failed a single exam, except maybe like one or two, and I still got all A's and B's. Never got a single C. I mean, my Spanish class was the closest where I thought I was gonna get a C. I was like on the verge. I was like a 79 for a while. And it just bothered me like you wouldn't believe. I was like stressing out so much because I just cannot get a C. I do not allow it.
¿Por
But
qué, Senor Sean?
porque yo no me gusta grades malo. See, you can already tell I forget most of my fucking Spanish.
That's how white people fucking talk in Spanish.
Yeah, I know. It's like we're like yo me gusta. When it's like yo me gusta, it's like more
La
smooth.
muchacha está comiendo pan.
We're so rough with our language, It's so like whereas like Spanish is so nice and flowing.
Yeah, I used to, like do because when I being in the military, there was a time in the military where they paid for the Rosetta Stone courses, so I'd be like doing them. I'd be doing them because I was bored as hell, and I'd be like, I'd repeat, how like Stone does it, like they have a picture, and then they have like they have the sentence out, and then they speak it to you, and you kind of speak it back or whatever, and it's like so. So I'd try to do my little my dark Spanish voice. La muchacha está comiendo. Like like the Univision soap opera commercial, like you know,
Yeah.
Fernando, mi amigo, esta cuchi cuchi.
¿Por
Right?
qué?
Okay. Like I just like, yeah, that was a Pablo Francisco joke. I cannot claim that one.
Well, it's
You
interesting too. We all went to the same university, but we all have like fundamentally different, like, don't want to really say experiences per se, but like
Different
our
backgrounds.
backgrounds.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, I went to a branch campus and I took out loans. Like, Phil, you served in the military, so you earned your keep over
Yeah.
there. And Sean, you were lucky enough to have a grandma who helped you with that. So
Yeah. Well,
it's
and I want to say too, to complete my answer to your question, is that I know a lot of people that are taking loans out and they still don't care. And it's because they don't have to pay for it right now. It's like, oh, it's that I'll worry about it later attitude. And I'm not saying that's good or bad, but there are people that, even if they have it paid for, don't, are still fucking, going out with their bros every night, banging bitches and smoking dope or whatever, you know, people that don't care about their college, you know, uh, opportunities do, and they're just sort of, I can say kind of wasting some time in some stupid ways. So it really depends. I mean, there are some rich ass international kids that really give a shit about their academics, and there's some rich ass international kids that don't give a flying fuck. And I think when you do have it paid for and you're super rich, I think there's a more of a who cares attitude. But I don't think the people that are taking out loans are necessarily that much better. But to maybe segue a little bit before we wrap up soon, I wanted to mention that Gen Eds are bullshit. The biggest bullshit is Gen Eds. Your college experience could be shortened to 2 years easily, but they won't do that because that would cut their income in half. Penn State really wants their money, and they will ask for more of it even when I leave. And I'm not giving them anything, especially how they've treated me and some other people in some not so fair ways, to put it mildly. But Gen Eds are so fucking stupid. The one advantage is you can kind of sort of test the waters and figure out if you like this or that, but to require them is, and the ones they do require, like a language, are just stupid. I'm never going to use Spanish, I'm sorry. I'd have a better chance using Chinese probably at this rate, but
Por qué, señor Sean?
that shit.
what was
You
that?
don't want to fucking take Chinese. You did
I
right
heard it's
taking.
really hard.
Yeah, no, I don't know, man. I took fucking Mandarin for a certain amount of years. Kind of backdrop for the folks listening, but
I took French, man. That fucking blew ass. Like I can imagine Chinese.
Yeah.
yeah, I could have taken like literally anything. I took Latin in high school, so any sort of Romance language I would have had a basic understanding of. But like the first year wasn't so bad, but like the second year was a bitch. Like it was just such a big like increase in the difficulty curve. And then my my final like tier 3 of Chinese, that was difficult too, and especially because the first week I took I think the first week I took the wrong Chinese, and I was like, a weird thing. It was like Chinese one. It was like Chinese 1, 2, and then like 101 or something, and then like, I accidentally took like level like 6 Chinese or something, or like level 4 Chinese when I wanted level 3, and I was like, what?
Well, you know what me was really stupid was in high school I took Spanish 1, 2, and 3, but they told me, well, when you get to Penn State, you can either do, you have to do either one semester of a new language, or you have to retake Spanish 3. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I passed Spanish 3 with flying colors magically, and I have to retake it again? I mean, that is easier than having to do the next level up, but it's just so stupid. I mean, I hate that language shit. It's so stupid. And a lot of these other genders were just a waste of fucking time. Like I had to do some sciences that, like I picked Sound of Music or Science of Music or something like that, and that was
Wasn't that a
just
movie?
so stupid.
Wasn't that a movie, Sound of Music or whatever?
Yeah, that would just say Sound of Music.
What, a
Yeah,
spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down? Is that one?
yeah. It's with Julie Garland. I think is that her name?
Julie Andrews.
Yeah, I fucked that up. I apologize to
Now, on a
Sound of
side
Music
note, you want to
fans.
hear some shit? Like,
Yes.
I was like, this girl that I was seeing
Ooh.
a long time ago. She was like, she was um she was into like she was obsessed with Judy Garland, like
Oh.
the Dorothy on the Wizard of Oz, right?
Oh, did you show her
I
the?
showed her. I did. Right before I broke it off with her, I showed her a YouTube video of her in
Oh.
blackface. Oh yes. Oh yes. I showed it to her and it wrecked her whole world. It was beautiful.
Oh my god. Holy shit.
But well, I will say, okay, so I will say, um, when I was at the Harrisburg campus, I took an in art class, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it was the it was popular music class. Like it was the history of pop music.
That could be
And I'm
fun, but I'm gonna guess it's not.
no, it might have been my favorite class ever.
Oh shit.
And I learned a ton. I really did learn a ton because like it was there was a whole lot of history to learn from pop music and what was popular throughout the course of American history.
Mm,
Um, I mean, it was really like I loved the class. The instructor was awesome. The content was awesome, and we got to listen to music. It was
yeah.
pretty cool. It was a pretty cool class overall.
Well, that
But
actually reminded me, because I will say, like, a lot of classes I learned really quickly. I'd be like, oh, this sounds really interesting. This could be really cool, like
yeah,
science and music. And then it turns out to be fucking shit and
yeah,
boring and awful. Professors have a talent of taking something interesting and making it boring. But one class that's similar to that, like that you did, that I took was the art of cinema. And it was
mhm,
basically you watch fucking movies. I was like, sure, I'll do
yeah,
that as my art class. I love movies, and sounds like it's gonna be fun. And it actually was fun. I mean, the problem is there was one issue with which I'll get into, but what was really, 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 really cool was that it was the best classroom ever, like physical classroom, because it wasn't on campus like a traditional classroom. It was in the State Theater, which is downtown at Penn State, where they show a lot of classic movies, new movies. It's a really cool place, but they're a little bit cucked. I found out recently. But that's where the class was, and you went in there, and there's this giant screen and this like old sort of theme, sort of cinema, and there was a bar there too. There was popcorn, a ticket stand, and you walk in your class, and my professor, really nice dude, would show us. He showed us a few movies. He shows, I think, I can't remember some of them, but I mean, his lectures were kind of meh, but the movies were really fun. But the problem was I had it at like I think 11 or 10 in the morning. I forget when, and I think it was during the days I had 9 a.m.s. I forget. You can do 9 a.m.s at the beginning of college, but then like near the end you just can't fucking do them. At least for me. But my problem was I kept falling asleep during the movies because they turned the lights off, and still kind of tired, and that was the worst part. I don't think there was a single movie day that I sat through the full movie. it was it was a great class. I fucked up.
I don't know. I feel you, man. It's gonna be tough. I hate those 9 a.m.s. Like when I was at a branch campus, I had like I think it was like a 7 or something, or like a 7:30 a.m. And I had to go and drive to fucking campus like
Wait, you sat next to me, fucking AK, in that class? I remember Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. I remember watching that. You were in that fucking class? Holy shit. That's crazy. But yes, Thomas 100. I had the sociology class in there with Sam Richards, which is I will recommend that class. Even though I disagree with Sam on a lot of things, it was fun. And better movie room though is 113 Carnegie, especially if you're a comp student, you can swipe in. That was my favorite classroom. I love that fucking room. It was basically like a mini cinema. We had lots of fun in there. That's when I think Phil and Alex here really bonded. But yeah, go back to what you were saying, Alex. Sorry.
Yeah, no, Phil, I think I had that same class that in art like 110 or whatever, where it had like all the like the blackface stuff and the it go up to like the modern one. I
Hmm.
I had that at Penn State York, and we actually had a dude who was from what's that place down south with like the Country Hall of Fame, the Grand Ole Opry, that place. Like the
Oh.
dude went there, and like he had like insider info. Well, not really
No,
insider.
insider information.
Like he had a lot of really cool stories, and like that was one of those classes. I have no use for that in my life, but I felt like it was worthwhile going to it. But I don't know, like there were certain things too, like if you take an early class, like I mean, I could deal with it because I was still living at home at the time. But like when I was at main campus, having to go and get there early in the mornings, that definitely sucks. Like if you can help it, limit the amount of early ass classes and limit the amount of night classes too. Like
Yeah,
this,
don't do night classes and don't do those like 3 hour ones if you don't have to.
especially both, like that
Yeah.
fucking sucks. I had the same teacher for two of them, and it was basically the same class. One was in an IST package, and the other was an SRA package. Same shit. He had a monotone voice, rambled off of slideshows.
Yeah, and then that's also going into club times. When clubs usually meet between like 6 and 9, and if you're having a class between then, like you're wasting time. Class that you're gonna fall asleep in when you could be at a awesome club doing some cool shit.
Yeah, that was at Penn State York too. So I mean, they only really had like maybe two clubs that really
Hmm.
sports actually did anything that well maybe oh yeah, pretty much two. It was like Scrounge and the student government, and like that was, if you're gonna go to a branch campus, get involved with student government there because like that's an easy way to that's an easy thing to put on your resume, and it's like
Mhm.
you can actually do shit. Like I tried to do shit when I was over
Well,
there, like
well,
man,
you're staying on the branch campus, right?
that was at the yeah over here. Like to get into there, you actually have to like suck someone's cock or something. I don't even know how to
Yeah, UPUA is terrible. It's
like
We
fucking
can dive into student government real
fucking
quick.
terrible.
I wanted to say the
Oh my god.
quickly
Go ahead.
about what Alex was saying, like the cool teacher that knew some shit about like some insider info, like with the country music folks. Like I had one class. I had an annoying far like lefty professor that worked for Clinton and would show like fake news CNN clips. He was my PR professor. He didn't tell us anything like that we didn't fucking know. Like never lies. Like yeah, no shit. But that's what PR does all the time, isn't it? Um, but one day I had the best class ever in his class. He brought in the dude that ran the BJC. The BJC is like our big arena where they have performers, bands, concerts, comedians, all kinds of cool shit comes. Sports play there. The dude that ran that came, and he was this energetic, high energy dude named Bernie that had the craziest, funniest celebrity stories. And that really, like, I instantly was like, I need to get a fucking internship there. Didn't get it, unfortunately. Maybe I'll still try for some there because you can get some really good connections. But that really got me excited about kind of getting in the celebrity world or that sort of shit. And that's also, I think, the same year we had the Don Jr. event. But that you can get really cool shit like that. You're just not going to get anywhere else. But UPUA, fuck, man, student government's some bullshit. It's just a bunch of elitists jerking off to themselves once a week, and they just do nothing, absolutely nothing but virtue signal.
yeah, that's kind of what I've gotten like from over here. Like when I was in like CCSG, and they still actually do some real work there. And I think it's a different thing too. Like the people who go to a branch campus are generally not the same as the people who go like 4 years to the main campus. Like most people who went there, they came from more like non-elitist backgrounds. So you have more quote unquote real people there. I mean, you'd
Yeah,
always have national students who are given a bunch of money, but not as not as much, like especially the crazy extent that you have over at main campus. So like you have a lot of military, ex-military, you have a lot of like working adults. Like there was a lot more people who are like over the age of like 30 than at main campus, like significantly. Like that was probably like 20 to like 40, like 35% at Penn State York, and it was an interesting experience. You know, it, you kind of see that in their student government.
Well, that's two things. I don't know about you, but college really made me hate elitists. Also, maybe in the timing of the Trump election with the sort of anti-establishment sentiment forming. But secondly, and I'm not one of these people that's like, oh, we need diversity and inclusion. Oh, it's so progressive. But what I did really like about college was getting to meet so many different people from so many parts of the world, from so many different backgrounds, like Chinese people. Like one of my coolest friends I've ever met was Yuang from China. He is such an interesting person. He literally changed me in a lot of ways of broadening my perspective and seeing things from a completely different perspective. But you mean like Chinese people, Germans, British,
Oh
uh,
yeah, just
rural, urban, people that Republicans, Democrats, socialists, liberals, military people, like veterans. There's so many different walks of life you'll run into, and everybody's really interesting in some way.
that's the thing too. Like, I mean, of all the international people, 90% that you'll see at like Penn State are probably from like China, Korea, or like India.
Yeah,
Like, I mean,
it's
I think
Asians.
yeah, pretty much all Asian international students. So there's not that much diversity there, but like compared to me, where we had like one, like I think we may have had like one or two like Asian people in my high school. I don't even know if we had that many. I guess we had a few like we had a couple international like maybe like one or two Hispanic internationals. Like the student government at Penn State York, that's where all the international students went. Like we had a few Chinese. We had like Alan, who's I miss that dude. He was from the place Borat was from Kazakhstan. Like he was awesome. He had that we had that guy I think Harry told you about him who wasn't even a student. He was like some black guy from like Italy apparently, but I'm not even sure if he was lying about that. And he just he just wanted the student governments allegedly may have taken someone's $50,000 watch and returned it to him.
Yeah.
But like that like it was just some crazy shit that and I would have never seen that if I didn't get involved with student government over there. Like just some of these stories and getting to go and see some of these like actually different cultures like that. Like there's a certain benefit to that, and I agree with you. Like it's a lot of talk about like diversity and shit, but like if they're from America, like I've met Chinese people from America, and they're not that much different than like you and me. There's a couple little
Yeah,
quirks.
exactly.
An actual like Chinese national, like they have some
So
wild.
different.
I think like Korean nationals, like they're just so different from the Americanized people that you have over here because like we all have differences. You have differences between New York and California and Pennsylvania, but like you get like way different like views of things from an international perspective.
Oh
That,
yeah,
I
especially
wish
China because it's such a different culture. And
that's the one I wish I would have done too is like actually had to study abroad for a semester. 'Cause I mean I didn't have the money,
yeah,
and like the one time I could have done it, it was I had an internship at the same time, and it was I had like $100 in my bank account. I didn't want to beg my uncle for money, so
well, and if you're gonna do it, I tend to recommend doing it early because if you have leadership aspirations, the that can really sort of fuck that up, and kind of
well we went
I
to summer. Like I mean
or yeah,
it
or
was
do it in the summer.
good.
Yeah, that's true too. I mean, I never did it because I just didn't personally see a point to it from my major, and it just I don't know. I felt bad, kind of like spending more money that way, and I also didn't really know where to go, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Anywhere would have been interesting. Like one of these days, I'm gonna go and save up some money and go to like Europe or something. Go to like America
Yeah,
and that shit. Once all this COVID nonsense is, I guess we're double demonetized now, done with. But
you mentioned the C word. How dare you?
Yeah, but like I feel that I feel like I had a pretty overall decent experience. I wish in some ways like I felt like I learned a decent bit at Penn State York, but I feel like I don't know. I think maybe after my freshman year, I should try to go to the main campus, but I just
Mm,
didn't have for it, and that's it's like even right now I have like 40 grand. I mean, it's a bit less. I've been paying it off, but my bill was 40 grand. That was before I even had the GI Bill kick in. Like I didn't get that till like my spring of like for my dad until my spring of the sophomore year. So I would have been out like probably another like 20 grand.
well, we're all gonna have regrets because it's the whole thing is a learning experience, and it's not just an academic learning experience; it is a life learning experience. And I again, I'm still trying to figure out what I'm gonna really do, but I know one thing for certain is that it won't be our last time there. We'll be coming back at some point, all of us, and getting the band back together, and maybe we'll do something really big and fun. I mean, I'm hoping to really pull something really really cool off, but if not, we'll still come by and do a drive-by trolling per se.
And I feel that like I don't know, it's just so different. Like everyone's sort of college experience. So, like I mentioned this before, it's like you're getting injected with an unknown substance with college.
It's a
You know,
drug.
you don't know what effect it's going to have. You take that red pill. Some people that might have allergic reaction and it might go and hurt them, and they might end up going to the hospital and being done with that. Some people might have an enlightenment. It really sets them off. Like I'm not like honestly, I don't feel like college really clicked with me until my senior year.
Hmm.
Like honestly, my sophomore year was just a waste. My freshman and well, not my sophomore, my junior year was a complete waste. But my like freshman year, I mean, I felt like I did okay there. Same thing with my sophomore year. Like academically, I did great during those 2 years, but it just I didn't have the same experiences I would my senior year. And definitely if you're going to university, try to get a good friend group in early. Try to go make
Hmm.
friends especially with people, freshmen and stuff. Like I mean, I had Harry and I had you. Like Harry was probably the only real friend I kept from my freshman year, and he's a great person. It's been a hell of a fucking run with you. I'm glad I met you my senior year. Though you know, I wish I could have met some other people during my junior year. But going to main campus, not having that friend group, that really sucked. Like if I could have done that again, I definitely would have. I should have talked to her or something like roomed with them, figured that out because my first roommate was terrible, but it's a learning experience. Like I know I learned how to cope with other people who are basically terrible.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Is I really hadn't dealt with shitty people because like in middle school, high school, I either just avoid those kids, or or I just simply didn't talk to a lot of kids. But and that's the thing too. If you're an introvert, which I am, college changes that. You will still be an introvert, but you won't be as introvert. You will have more confidence. You will have a tight friend group. I wouldn't go so far as say you'll become a full-on extrovert, but you'll do things and you'll be a different person in ways that your middle school self would be like, holy shit, I never expected that.
I'll
Uh,
say do that. I don't want to say it will do that because some people,
yeah, not
if
always, but I think a lot of people do blossom.
a lot of people blossom, but then you have some people who burn out, and that's the
Mm,
thing. It's a possibility. You don't There's really no good way of knowing how you'll do unless you like maybe if you go in like summer camps or something for extended periods of time away from your parents and see how you handle that. Because just like dealing with other people without parental supervision, that's the
yeah,
biggest. Like there's a devil in that. There's that sort of like recklessness you can get into. Like if you were raised with like a parents that were strongly over you, you could, and you never were around people that could bring you bad stuff. Like honestly, like when I turned 18, I started hanging around this like group of people, and like I got used to drinking before I even went to college. So I mean, in some ways, I'm kind of thankful for that too, because I could have ended up in some deep shit. Like first time I ever had a bit of alcohol, if that was in college.
Actually, let's end on that note. What is your drinking recommendations? Because obviously a lot of people are gonna fucking drink, but how should it? What would you recommend?
I'd recommend, if you're gonna live on a dorm, you don't want to be doing it at the dorm. I guess. I mean, I have no experience with that because I never lived on a dorm. But like, I know people get busted all the time for that shit.
Well, I will say dorms. I know one time, it was literally my freshman year, I think even during summer session, the dorms were raided. Um, and people were like calling people like, oh my god, pour it down the drain. They're like freaking out. It can happen. Just remember, you don't own the dorm, it's not your property, and it can be searched at any time. And the janitors and Penn State has a key to your dorm room. So don't keep alcohol in dorms. I think that's just stupid. Unless it's just for like one night and you're just like keeping it there. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
like,
Like, don't go to a dorm party. That just seems
oh,
stupid.
yeah, I heard a lot of those my freshman year. Like, I could hear them. It's stupid. But for the most part, on a Friday night and a Saturday night, the dorms will be dead. But like my freshman year, they were kind of wild, which was really weird. And it was because it was freshman dorms, but yeah, don't do that shit. It's just stupid. But I mean,
If you're gonna do that, do it on off-campus location, and don't go to an extremely wild party. That like definitely, if you're going to Penn State, don't be very careful if you're underage during state patty state. Like, do not go to that shit because they've been cracking down that really hard unless you have some, you know, really reliable connections. Like if you know someone that's not gonna be a big party. Like, I just be careful because I mean I was a I was a college student. I've drank underage here before, never got caught. I'm old enough now. Go ahead, write me up for that shit. But like, I would, you know, be careful walking around at night because
yeah.
I was stupid. I never paid for Uber, so I didn't have the money for that shit. And I mean, I never drove, but I always walked.
And the thing too is, I will say on campus is extremely safe, but off campus, yeah, I've had some I've one or two kind of scary situations, and I've always been 100% sober, as you guys well know. I don't drink, but some other people could have gotten some seriously bad situations, and people have gotten into bad situations. There's been rapes, there's been robberies, there's been all kinds of shit. I mean, it's and there are cops out there, but they can't watch every little block. And if you're going to be a freshman, you're going to get into drinking. Like, be very careful with it, because as Penn State has become infamous for, there has been a fraternity death because of stupid drinking and stupid behaviors in general. And I get people are going to do it. If you want to do it, I can't stop you, but you need to be safe and responsible about it. It's a test to your maturity. And a lot of people are going to be immature at first, but that's when bad things can happen. And you just need to be smart about it, or as smart as you can be, or else something bad can happen.
Yeah, that's the thing. You have to be real careful, especially drinking. If you're going to be, smoking pot, like just remember, the dorms are not safe by any means for any sort of debauchery going on. Like
Yeah.
you will get caught. You try that shit on the dorms. Like maybe you can maybe you won't for a while, but you start getting lazy with that, you're gonna end up. And it's not, it's not just a slap on the wrist all the time like that. Especially if you're going for certain jobs like teaching, like that can be a real issue.
Hmm.
Like going to college for a teaching degree and then getting underage and then boom in PA, like you're screwed.
And even if you're doing off campus, like be very careful, because some of these parties can be really sketchy. Drinks do get spiked. It happens. It's, I think, a bit more frequent than people think or would like to think. It's
Or
not.
for too. I mean, it can happen to guys, but it's mostly from
It's for Yeah, it's for women, and that's the thing too. Is like what we're talking about is general rules, but for women specifically, you need to be extra extra safe, because it's a bunch of horny guys, drunk horny guys, and that's a bad combination.
and I just like with the fraternities and stuff like. You know, if you don't have a ton of like, if you had to go and pay for college yourself, fraternities probably aren't what you should be doing. Like, I mean, there's probably some value to them, but honestly, like even the cheaper ones, they're still way more expensive than living off campus normally. And like you can probably, you know, especially with all the drinking and stupid shit you're gonna be doing, like I just can't really recommend doing that if you have to go and pay for things yourself. Like,
And be careful if you're gonna get into a frat. Be careful which ones you choose. Like, do some extreme vetting on them because there are some frats that are well known as quote unquote. This is what I've heard from somebody that ran basically the safety side sororities. Was they're known as rapey frats, and they would tell their sorority sisters don't go to them, and they would still fucking go. But you don't want to get tied up in that. Like, even if you didn't do anything wrong, just being associated with one that does something wrong is really bad. Associations can be very dangerous.
yeah, you know, even if you didn't participate in the, you know, whatever degenerate shit goes on in there, like it'll follow you, and you know, it could throw your whole college career away. Like, look what happened to the guys who were with the one frat who had the guy fall down the staircase. You know, good luck at them. Like, whenever someone does a job interview, that's gonna be pretty tough.
Oh, what was this frat you were in? I've heard of it before. Where have I heard of this before? Might have been the news. You know, it's like, yeah, you don't want that. Be careful, frats. I recommend not doing them, but if you're gonna do them, extreme vetting.
And I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's a certain, and we have one person that's a friend of ours that would probably have more information on
Hmm.
this. Like, I think there's still some frats out there that are like probably more old school and like they aren't like 100% party focused. Like, I see value in the concept of the fraternity.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if it's all like if they're all very similar in terms of the shit that they do, or if they have ones that are more like, you know, networking related and, you know, friendship and brotherhood.
And then there's also the secret societies. We'll talk about some extra networking. There's that, but those ooh, those are interesting. If you do get into one, I recommend infiltrating it. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. But I have no idea what happens in those. Like, they're just so, you know, secretive to me. So, I mean, you really don't know what happens over there. And just remember, whatever happens in these places behind closed doors, it could have, like, one of these days, just know it could come out into the limelight. And, you know, if you did something really bad there, that it's not going to stay secret forever,
well,
especially.
well, and speaking of that, be careful what you say online.
Oh yeah, that's another thing. Like, if you post something in a, you know, group chat, especially group me, and even if you don't have your name necessarily associated with it, just pretend that potential employers could see it. You know, be very careful with what you put on there. That's one of the biggest things. Like, it happens pretty much every year. Some sort of chat gets leaked. You might think you know your friends over there, but you really don't.
Hmm. And be
It,
careful you post on Snapchat. That shit doesn't disappear like they like you to think it does. It does not fucking disappear, and people can record shit and take pictures of their friends' phones of what they're seeing on Snapchat.
Yeah, I'd be careful of that. You know, it's all that stuff you'll learn. Like, you know, there's no real secure way to communicate online. Like, I mean, you're better like doing it voice, but people can still record that. Like, best way would probably be in person if you want to discuss anything remotely controversial that you wouldn't want your mom reading.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing if you have a club that talks about drinking, okay. Even like minor pot use, okay. But, you know, you talk about like serious stuff that you don't want getting leaked out. Don't trust whatever messaging app you're going to be using. Don't trust Zoom. Don't trust any of that stuff. You know, do it in person because that's the only way you can have a modicum of security. And you know, just be careful of like, I guess, you know, be careful who you make enemies with. Like, just be aware what you do
Yeah.
because you know, shit can follow you. Just try to live a life that you're honest. Like, don't lie to people. Like, I mean, especially nowadays, you know, you're seeing that here. And the elitists, they're gonna exist. You know, try to take them down when you can. Don't try not to be like them. Try to go and run whatever. If you're gonna run an organization, run it in an honest fashion. try to be better. Like try to actually don't just try to do stuff to get it on a resume.
Yeah.
That's
And the last thing I'll mention too is like, since we live in I guess we still live in a Me Too era, or maybe it's a post Me Too era. Just remember that there will be people that, there's a lot of bad stuff that genuinely happens, but there are also very bad people that will try to ruin your life. And, you know, some instances too that if you see something, the saying, if you see something, say something. If you see something bad happening, report that shit. Because not only is it just awful to, not, if something, like let's say somebody gets raped and you know about it, you witnessed it or whatever, and you don't do anything about it, that's bad in of itself. Like that's really bad. But if you don't do something, well, that can come back to bite you too. And maybe that's good social pressure then. But you gotta realize that serious, as much as college is fun and games, there's serious shit that happens. And I mean, like I said, again, like you're saying too, things can come back to haunt you. Like look at Kavanaugh. Even though he, in our opinion, did nothing wrong and didn't do the things that he was accused of, there were still accusations made at him. Now imagine if you put yourself in a situation where you might not have done something, but it might look like you had, or you were at the wrong place at the wrong time. You need to be careful of that. I mean, it's something that's hard to prevent in some ways, but it is preventable by just not putting yourself in bad situations. And with the parties, be extra careful. I mean, I've had some close run-ins with, and I have some theories on what could have happened at some parties, but I've had some close run-ins where something bad may or may not have happened to people I know, and we've dealt with it kind of, but sometimes you don't even know, and you don't really, you can't trust these guys. I'll say that. There's a lot of good guys out there, but there's a lot of guys you just can't trust, especially if you don't know them.
If you know someone's untrustworthy, warn your friends about these people too.
Yes, yes.
Because that's just being a good friend. If you know someone's a bad apple, try to warn people and do it in a tactful way. Because there's nothing worse than having someone. Oh yeah, we knew this guy was no good, or you knew this girl was untrustworthy, and then
Then something happens,
and then your friend is in trouble now. They have a black mark on their record, basically. And yeah, just be careful who you associate with too. Like, that can happen. You think you know people, and you don't, and that can be a scary thing because you get one real bad person, they can make the rest of your life miserable, depending on how much you actually associate with this person.
yeah.
And you know, just know that not all people out there are good people. Like you think that they are. There's some people who are actual psychopaths, and a lot of people, this might be the first time they realize that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in college. It's not like high school where you're all kind of forced to associate with people. You can choose who you want to be friends with and who you don't want anything to do with for the most part.
Yeah, and if you're a woman too, like, don't go. I mean, nobody should go to parties alone, but if you're a woman, like, make sure you know who's at parties, and don't take an empty or an open drink. Don't put your drink down, and be very alert. That's the problem I have with when women like get super drunk at parties is they are not alert, and people will use and abuse them. Bad shit will happen.
I agree with that.
But any last words of wisdom before we close out?
Yeah, no, I mean, you try to do everything. You can try to do everything right. Sometimes things will go out the right way. Just try to go and make the most of your time there. Like going into college, you can feel like it drags on sometimes, but sooner or later, you're going to look back at those days and think the best of it. Like my brother, he went to a smaller college. He never really he didn't have anywhere near the same experience as me. And like honestly, from the time that he graduated high school to like now, he's not really changed as much as I did when I first went to college. And when I'm back now, like, I still talk to my old friends, but it's not the same as the people I met in college. Like, it's just a life changing experience. Let it have that experience, enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Take advantage of all of it because you never know what's gonna happen. There could be a fucking global pandemic that cuts it short, and you'll have regrets like I did,
Yeah,
which I hope to make up for.
it's a change, but it's a good change sometimes. Like not that pandemic stuff, like that sucks. Like college in general,
Yeah, it's a
you
good change.
it's something different, and you are going to change from it, and accept that. Not all change is bad,
Mm-hmm.
and not all change is good either. Be aware of who you're becoming. You can reinvent yourself. Don't make yourself into like from fucking atypical to dorm rat. You want to basically be the best you that you can be. You want to, and always pretend, always think there could be that great connection over here, that person that I could go meet over here, that potential employer, because, very well could be. Put your best self forward, try not to make a bad name for yourself, try to make as many friends as early as possible, and try to basically live life. Know that everyone's college experience is going to be different, and everyone's going to have regrets, but nothing to the point unless you try not to do anything to the point that it makes you regret going to college at all. Just make you regret not doing something else that's gonna make you even better. It's always room for improvement, but try not to ruin it for you or anyone else. It's a growing time. You get to become an adult. Everyone makes mistakes, and for some mistakes, it's better to make it off in college than anywhere else. Others, probably not, but you'll learn.
Yeah. Don't do stupid shit. Don't fuck up. Keep your grades up and have fun. Well, that's I think all we'll have for tonight. Thank you everyone for tuning into our Real News Quarantine. It's been an interesting little reflection on our college experience. Hope you found it insightful, and we'll see you next time. As always, have a nice day, subscribe to the channel, and wash your hands, bitches.